Hi folks, well it's been a while, and I just felt compelled to give another SDC address today. Uh, what I was just thinking about was I was discussing with Miles, one of our viewers here, the guy that puts up all the Matthew Woon readings. I was discussing with him about the method of meditation that I'm doing based on this Michael Levin book. And this, like I said before, this is the book that started Matthew Lewin going, and so I'm on the very first steps of her meditation. I haven't had a lot of time for meditation, so I'm probably going to be stuck on the very first steps for quite a while, but that's the way I usually work. But when I was telling him about it, I was telling him about how I was lighting candles, and I didn't usually do that kind of thing, but she suggested it, and I was amazed at how it helped to set the mood and keep me focused. You know, it's like while the candles are lit, it's a constant reminder that you are meditating, you know. But one thing I said to him is that, well, she said like 3, and so I imagined that each one was like a prayer, like a mnemonic to focus my thought. And so, like, for the first one, I would be grateful to my higher self. The second candle I lit, I'd be grateful to my guardian angels, my guardian seraphim. That's what I said to him. And then the third one, I said my celestial teacher and my spirit team, whatever would be the ones. And so then he comes back, he says, well, how do you know that your guardian angels are seraphim? And, you know, that, and you know, I turned around and said, well, it's because I just got that from the Urantia book. You know, it claims that we all have 2. And that's an important point. The Urantia book is unlike anything I've come across before. And it's difficult to convey, I guess. I'll attempt to do so. But my whole experience has been one of, sure, struggling, going back and forth. You know, is it fake? Is it real? You know, what to make of all of it? But you know, still, it was interesting enough. And my approach usually is just, sure, if somebody's got a spiel and it seems halfway compelling, just stick with it and see where it goes. You know. So that's what I've been doing, and actually I've instead of reading here and there from different parts, a while back I started plowing through it from page 1, going very slow and just meticulously reading each part. So I'm not that far into it, but it's changing the way I think. And one thing that the Urantia book provides is a very systematic overview of these things that have always been unsystematic. It conveys this sense of order to this spiritual realm. And usually we think of spiritual, we think of like ghosts, or maybe doing astral projection, or something to do with angels and heaven and God and all those things that seem kind of like they're just a few players to the celestial hierarchy. And we hear these accounts of hosts of angels and stuff, but it just seems like there's not much organization to it. You know, you don't get the sense of a system like in our governments that we have around the world, or large businesses, or you know, anything where we have a stringent system of order to a large system. And of course, somebody would probably traditionally say, well, sure, there probably is that kind of order, but you can't know about it. You know, the Bible doesn't tell us about that. It doesn't tell us all those kinds of things because we're just not meant to know it yet. We'll know all that when we get to heaven. We'll find that out when we get to heaven. And growing up, that was the traditional thing I would hear whenever that kind of concept was brought up. And that is the one complaint that can be levied against the Urantia book. I can't find any other justifiable complaint. You complain it contradicts the Bible, I'm sorry. Check it out. Check it out. And when you're approaching the Bible as the spirit of the law, as the word of God, and not as the rule of law of the Pharisees to be obeyed to the last jot and tittle, if you have the spirit of the law approach of the word, and a love of the word, a love of the truth, and knowledge of the fact that we see through a glass darkly, and then you approach the Urantia book with an open mind, you show me the page where it conflicts with the Bible. Now, of course, it conflicts with our traditional interpretations of the Bible, but we knew those were the source of all of our problems anyway. We knew that all these denominations didn't exist in heaven. I mean, that they were just something made up of man's own error. So, since when is that new? Shouldn't come as any surprise. So the one complaint that can be levied to the Urantia book is that it provides too much information. Because our whole mindset is that we're not allowed to know this stuff yet. So anything that comes along and says, this is the way the celestial hierarchy is organized, here's a taste of what you can expect in your long career towards paradise. Any work, no matter what it said, would have that one failing, and that failing would be that it provides literal information that we aren't supposed to know, or rather that we didn't think we were supposed to know. Because here for all these millennia, or a couple of good millennia, we have the Bible, and it has always, for generations upon generations, been enough. It has been all we need to lead us to God, all we were meant to know. The closed canon, the first and last word of God on this earth. And yet, here comes, if anyone comes along claiming to say more than that, that will be the main and strongest and only real complaint, as long as there's not other problems and obvious errors with it. The only complaint that will still hold, even if it was something truly said by God himself that was written by his own hand and handed down on stone tablets, you could still levy the same complaint. It's too much information. This can't be true because we aren't supposed to know about stuff like this. We can't know about stuff like this. This is the unknowable. This is stuff you don't know until you get to heaven. And that is, to some of you, it may seem like a really flippant kind of answer, but for those of us that came from a really conservative Christian background, fundamentalist type of background, that is the whole thing right there. That just is the deep source of all issues that anyone could really have with this book, and I guess the deep source of the last issue that I struggle with, because as far as does it influence you towards holiness and goodness and upright behavior and all things that are good and balanced and pure and just? Yes, it definitely does. Is it condoning behavior that harms others or is blasphemous of God or truly? I mean, no, of course not. It's the purity and holiness is just something you can't really describe to someone until they actually start going through it page after page. And it's kind of a shocker to be experiencing this kind of purity and holiness from something so factual that sounds so scientific lots of times and systematic. But there it is. So it's truly a work unlike any other that I have read. Who knows what else is out there on those shelves that I've never come across? But I've everything I've seen doesn't even hold a candle. The Oaspi book or whatever it's called. Sorry, that's just a pitiful farce. Book of Mormon. I mean, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but come on. And my same complaint can be levied towards the Bible. It's like, in comparison, you have these very more fundamental religious works that we are used to having and we've had in our past. And now we have something that seems to be way more elevated in factual content and in purity. And that is the one complaint that anybody can levy against the Urantia book. It reveals too much, too purely, and we just can't know about that yet.